Welcome to For the Record, an unfiltered view on current trends and timeless advice for surviving in the aesthetics industry. Whether you're an injector, practice owner, sales rep, or marketer, it's time to set the record straight. Each week, we cut through the chaos and showcase diverse perspectives and winning ideas from the best minds in the industry. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Hall, Chief Growth Officer at Aesthetic Record. Now, let's get started on this week's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of For the Record. And we're here this week with a dear friend of mine, Julie Acarregui, who is the owner of Pure Medical Spa in Idaho, which has 3 locations, maybe 2, maybe 3. We'll find out when we get to talk to Julie. And she's the #1 sculpture injector, I think, in the whole state of Idaho and possibly in the whole Northwest. She is an Army veteran, which is a fun thing we haven't had on the show quite yet. She's also a nurse anesthetist who is now a medical aesthetics injector ninja, and she's running a booming business, guys. We're in her business all the time at Aesthetic Record, and we know the cool things that she's doing, and she's extremely innovative and finding some really cool ways to generate a lot of revenue. She's also a gain trainer, part of Gin Now. She's been to Sweden, been on advisory boards. She's trained all across the country, done big events and lectures and seminars. So she's really the full package, and she's here with us today to tell us all about the secrets to surviving and thriving in aesthetics. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. That was a very nice welcome. Thank you. Glad to be here with you.
Well, Julie, help us out from the beginning here, because I said 2, maybe 3, because you've got locations that sort of share and don't share. How many do you actually have right now in Idaho?
I have 3 locations. I just purchased my 3rd location in March of this year.
Ooh, we'll unpeel that layer in a little bit, but what a year to expand from 2020 March to 2021 right now. What a time to grow a business. So kudos to you for having the wherewithal to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. It was fortuitous, something that fell into my lap.
That's how all good things happen. But we're going to start with you from the beginning, because you've had an interesting career. I mentioned you're an Army veteran, so you've served our country. You've been in operating rooms. Now you're obviously leading this great business. So tell us how you even got started in medicine from the very beginning.
So my bachelor's degree is in nursing, and as I went through nursing school, I knew I wanted to do anesthesia. And after I graduated from nursing school, I decided to go on active duty in the Army. I was in the reserves during my undergraduate degree, and I chose to go on active duty. I got a direct commission right out of college and applied for the Army's anesthesia school within my first year of being in the Army, and actually graduated from the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. Didn't step foot on their campus. However, they are affiliated with the Army's anesthesia program. And so traveled all over this great country of ours for 10 years and served on active duty for 10 years. After I graduated from anesthesia school, I had 4 years left to serve out my commitment, and 10 of the most wonderful years of my life.
So then that's why you can travel so well. You're used to traveling and being like on the fly 24/7, because I feel like you travel a lot, like as much as I travel, if not more. You're always somewhere.
I do travel a lot between the locations and gain trainings and private trainings. Good thing my kids are grown now because they wouldn't survive on their own.
That's the key. Mine's not quite grown, so he still requires me to tuck him in bed at night, make his breakfast, tie his shoes. So in a few years, I want to be you when I grow up. But how did you go from anesthesia, Army, serving your country, to all of a sudden now you're in this medical spa environment and you're obviously doing a beautiful job at it? How did you get here?
So when I came back home to Idaho after getting out of the Army, I practiced anesthesia at a local hospital. I practiced anesthesia for 23 years. I only stopped practicing anesthesia about 4 years ago. So I did both kind of simultaneously. In about 2007, I was going to get my own facials and microdermabrasions done. A retired nurse from the hospital had her own place in town, and she came to me and she said, I want to start doing some cosmetic injections, but I need a medical director. And so I said, well, I'm not going to put my license up for something I really don't know anything about. And lo and behold, I started the quest to become educated on medical aesthetics. And I fell in love with it. Absolute love. I traveled all over the country, went to about every training course I could find out there, because I knew if I was going to inject, I was born and raised in this small town, and if I did a good job, it would spread fast. But if I did a bad job, it would spread like wildfire, and I would never have a business. So I probably went to trainings for at least 9 months before I ever touched a person that I knew, that I physically knew. Um, so this was 2008, and it's when the economy fell. And she came to me and she said, I don't know if I really want to do this now. And by this time, I had already put all this time, and it grew to be a passion of mine. And I thought, I'm on call for the hospital every other week. I'm on a week on, a week off. I can open up a medical spa. And so I opened up a medical spa in my hometown, small town, and did that for like 4 years before I expanded into the Boise location. So it was just through me going to be a medical director, and now it's turned into my greatest passion.
And so Boise, how much bigger is Boise than where you started your med spa population wise?
So where I started it is about 12,000 people, and Boise is now approaching, oh gosh, 700,000 people.
Quite a big jump there, Julie. Quite a big jump. Well, I look at you, and I've known you obviously from Gain for many years. We've done lots of fun things together. We've been in New York at Rockefeller Center at the tree at Christmas. We've had lots of adventures, which I miss terribly. I miss all of you. But as I think about your business skills, I mean, you have significant business prowess. Like you do things, you ask questions, and you talk to us about things reporting wise, numbers wise, that the average person, even in a successful business, does not know to ask or does not know to think about or to to do. Where did you learn that? Because that's not a thing that you learn in nursing school or probably even in the Army, frankly.
Absolutely. I always say that I never learned a thing about business in nursing school or anesthesia school. They don't teach you anything. I literally have learned from the School of Hard Knocks. And it's, through those hard knocks that I realized that I needed to reach out to experts in the industry. And I've affiliated myself with several wonderful consultants over the years. And I have just picked pearls from each one of those consultants, and somehow by the grace of God put it all together, and it's working. It's working great. But boy, there were a lot of times I fell flat on my face, and I think I learned much more from my failures than my successes. And I still have failures, and I just try to get back up and find the answers somewhere.
I think it's important that you say you learn from your failures. And, in the role that I have now to set a record, we work in technology. Things I can't control, have zero control over many things that happen here. And, those days you want to beat your head against the wall. But I think I have learned and grown as a person, like the resilience that you learn as, as an entrepreneur, because you don't have a choice. It's like if you give up, it all goes away. Like you have to keep going. So as you think about like when you first started out, in this role, what are the things that, if I'm coming into this brand new wide-eyed and bushy-tailed that I should be thinking about or knowing about that are obstacles that for sure are insurmountable at times?
I think that you can never let education go by the wayside. I think that you will find the most success in your business when you focus on educating your clients. Because once you educate a client, they absolutely trust you. And I think that learning as a business owner that it's not always easy to deal with the employee issues, that you need to have the right people in the management roles in your business, because you can't do it all. I started out trying to do it all, and literally would be working 16, 18-hour days, and you can't do that forever. And it's finding key people that can help you manage the employees, manage all the HR stuff, so that it allows you to still be able to educate yourself so that you can educate your clients. At the end of the day, an educated client will stay with you forever.
Yes. Yeah, so are you, as you're out training other people, are you still going to conferences and learning and taking CME? Obviously, you have to do CMEs, but are you still out, personally, aggressively seeking training as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can never stop learning. If I can pride myself on one thing within the business and my employees that I have, we all value continuing education so much. There is not a month that goes by that we are not actively engaging in some sort of continuing education. We have so many opportunities out there now. It is very important for me that my team members travel to conferences. I bring in other injectors to train my team members because I think it's valuable for them to be able to see how somebody else does it. I don't have all the right answers. I want them to see what I do, but I truly want them to learn from other great colleagues of mine. And so we try to have guest injectors come in. Or just yesterday, we bought a brand new piece of equipment last December, and I chose not to launch it until middle of this year because we had some other new equipment. But I took the entire team to Scottsdale, Arizona 4 weeks ago, and then yesterday I had another trainer physically come into the office to do advanced techniques. I just think that you can never ever stop learning. This industry is constantly moving, and if we don't keep up with it, it will move right past us.
I think when you mentioned equipment, what your secret sauce right there. I like to say that word secret sauce because I feel like that's kind of what it is, like your personal recipe. Is people buy devices all the time. You know this. You've been in this industry for a long time, and they never get used, or they get used a couple times. They get thrown about. They're in the back corner. And I think a lot of it's because of training. I think people look at the devices, they try it a few times, it's challenging, the results aren't great, and they're like, you know what, this thing isn't really effective. Like I'm going to move on from it, or gosh, that rep sold me a piece of junk, or whatever we all say. But I think you make a great point that when you're training, even just in general injections, everything, when you're training all the time, you stay excited, learning new things, finding new methods. That for me, in my own life is so exciting and invigorating to hear new ways to do old problems. So I think that the key with equipment for sure, like what you're doing, is they're staying engaged now, right? They're getting excited about it. They're learning about it. They want to go out and try it. So I think that's the key, is always educating. I couldn't agree with you more.
And learning advanced techniques with it to move beyond just the standard that the rep sold us. There are many more advanced techniques, and that's why I'm always trying to find the best in the industry to come into our facilities. I'll bring all of my teams together at one location so that we can maximize the educational benefits. And every location has the exact same equipment so that we are able to offer the same things at all locations.
Oh, guys, you hear that? So she's talking about scale now, one of my favorite topics, and really standardizing things. So if you think about just that, unpacking that, you've got, 3 locations now, obviously different people going to different places at different times. How do you keep things consistent and keep the brand image, results with patients, approaches the same across places where you can't always be to ensure it's happening?
That's truly one of the hardest things, and I would say the biggest thing that I am focusing on right now. With the addition of the 3rd location, branding has become so incredibly important. My end game is hopefully to build a franchisable model. And we can't do that without standardizing everything that we do. That a client that is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, that wants to visit Sun Valley, Idaho, gets treated the exact same way, that have the exact same services that they purchased in the Coeur d'Alene office, and experience the exact same valuable experience when they come to the Sun Valley office. And so truly, I am working so hard on standardizing everything. And it's my biggest challenge now. We're revisiting our standard operating procedures. We're revisiting our entire operations manual so that nothing is gray. Every single thing is black and white. There's an answer for everything. But it does take some time, and it requires people in management positions that can oversee it, having a spa director that implements it appropriately in each location. That's my biggest challenge to owning so many businesses now, is that I want it exactly the same in every single location.
Yeah, I think that's always a challenge, and I think that's why you see in this industry people build another med spa, they own another location, and then all of a sudden, like, you know what, this is too hard, or they become totally different businesses, right? They give in to the whole idea it's not going to happen for them. They just like change them into be 2 different things, 2 different images, 2 different names, because the whole idea of morphing 1 to 2 and keeping it the same is very, very challenging. But you mentioned SOPs and you mentioned protocols. I think as you go out and you gain train, you probably see a lot of practices that don't have that at all. They have no SOPs, they have no manuals, they have no protocols, which makes me nervous in general. But as you think about writing those, just for people who are listening thinking, oh gosh, Julie, I'm not going to write a manual on how to do my checkout procedure. Like, how did what is your thought process behind that? How do you make it efficient for you and get that done? Because I feel like that right there alone is a major obstacle for a lot of practices.
Right. So I would have to go back to working with consultants that I've worked with, and I've taken pieces and parts with all of them that I've learned and built my policy and procedure manual. During COVID, what I chose to do with my team members is I kept them employed the entire time we were closed during COVID. And I assigned them multiple different continuing education opportunities, but I also involved them in developing our policy and procedure manual. And what I did is I assigned each provider 2 to 3 services. And then I gave them a series of questions that they had to answer about that service. And they had to act like they were teaching a brand new RN that came into the facility, or brand new medical esthetician that came into the facility, Number one, what are the supplies I need to have to do this procedure? What do I need to tell the client? What does the consent form look like? All the way from pre to post, and explaining every single thing about that procedure that a brand new person would need to know to perform the procedure, along with the education that they would need to be able to perform that procedure. So I think involving the team is important. They have ownership, and we have, we call it the Pure Bible. And now it's on our Google Drive. We have one place at any point in time. If somebody says, gosh, I forgot, what do I do with this procedure? There's a place for them to go. But involving them, they truly felt like it was a valuable experience, and they have ownership. They have ownership in the business.
You know what's funny, Julie? I'll go ahead and admit fault here in a big way. I'm obsessed with SOPs. I love them. But the person who owns the business or who is running the business is the worst person to write SOPs. You probably know this because we have to cut corners and do different things, and you're in a million directions. So I always say, if you're waiting for me to write the perfect SOP, you're going to be waiting a long time. I can tell you how to do it, what to do, but I'm not your girl. My team does a fantastic job. Victoria, who's our sales director, really, she's our life director here. She writes them all, and I double check them, and then the team looks at them. But I think the key to that is having someone review it who didn't write it. Because if I can read it not knowing anything and understand it, then it's obviously a good SOP. If I read it and I'm like, this makes no sense to me. To your point, if you're brand new, you're like, again, this makes no sense to me. So SOPs are critical, but I think they're challenging to be a technical writer, put it all together, Google Drive, where do you store it? Like, I know that seems like a small thing to talk about, but I think it's a massive issue for a lot of practices. I really do.
That is a very good point. Very good point, because I hate writing. I'm too verbose. I don't know how to make things succinct. And so if somebody else can read it and say, hey, I think we could probably say this in a few less words.
Welcome to my life. My team's like, Tiffany, that 4 pages could be 1 page if we just cut that down. I'm like, but don't you want to hear the story of how this all began? They're like, no, Adam and Eve can wait. We don't want to hear the story.
I know. I want to tell you everything.
I really do. Well, thinking about you, we use this acronym or this metaphor here a lot on the podcast about being the pie maker and the pie shop owner. You're both, because you are a very high volume injector, but you're also, again, as we've talked about, owning all 3 businesses. How do you split your time or make sure that you're seeing your own patient load and keeping your personal brand and your personal deliverables up, but also keeping the business going?
That is also one of my biggest challenges. And I can tell you that it's evolved over the years, how I balance it. At the beginning of the week, I pull up my calendar and I try to wrap my head around, okay, what clients am I seeing this week? How can I meet their needs? How can I make it a valuable experience for them? Do we need to tweak their customized program? So I wrap my head around who I'm going to see. And then I have a to-do list every single day. And I have not only a to-do list, but I have A, B, and C on my to-do list. And so before I go to bed every night, I make it a point that all my emails are gone through. My inbox is completely clean. Everything has been answered, and I have my to-do list organized by A, B, and C for the next day. And so if I have time in between clients, I can try to look at that list of things to do. I used to work 5 days a week seeing clients and trying to run the business. And as the business has grown, I went to adding 1 admin day a week, and now I have to have 2 admin days a week. Otherwise, I don't get any time on the weekends. I don't get any time at night. And I'm finding that's a good balance. I will inject 3 days a week, and luckily I have a phenomenal team, and they've picked up some of my clients. I love to inject, but my passion is quickly turning towards running the business.
Well, I think you get to a point too, looking at you, where you're not seeing a first-time toxin patient, right? You're probably seeing established patients who are coming to you that are getting, big procedures, big volume, big dollar, and then it's worth your time. 3 days a week, you can probably make quite a bit of revenue with that, because you're seeing the guys who are coming in looking for, hey, Julie, I want a full face correction. I want a pan facial rejuvenation. Not, can you give me 20 units of my glabella? Because I think that's where, as a business owner in the beginning, not now for you, like in the beginning, people are just desperate to get business, right? Like, I just need to get business in the door. I don't care if it's 20 units. I just want business. And they look up and they're like, I'm not running my business because I'm trying to get business, which ends up not paying off in the long run. So, it's like this, almost like a cycle of insanity that you get into. So I feel like you're at a level now that you can probably say, if they're not a big established client, I can't take them right now because your schedule's too full.
Right, exactly. I really do rely on my team to pick up those clients, and they're building their own clientele. It's wonderful to watch.
Well, as you think about, you've obviously been kind of everywhere recently. I've been seeing you all over Facebook and Instagram. You're training. You're here, there, and everywhere. So I want to talk a little bit about your training and the decision that you made, obviously with a very full load on your plate, with all the things we just talked about, to now say I'm going to come out of the practice a few days, a month, or even sometimes once a week to go do gain trainings. How did you come to that decision?
So, loving education the way that I do, I truly know that I have a passion for teaching. And as I move forward in the next 10 years of my life, I hope to be teaching a lot more. I hope to have my own teaching academy. I truly love to help people understand why we're doing what we're doing. And I love to give analogies to make it easy and simple for them to understand, and for the light bulb to turn on for a new injector is so wonderful, or even an experienced injector to teach them a new technique that they haven't seen before. I think that education is truly where my passion and my craft come together. I feel that that's my calling, is to be an educator. Truly, at the end of my career, is to help people be able to do what I've done.
When I watch you train, you can see it. I can see, you come alive. You can tell that you're passionate about it, that you really enjoy it. We talked a lot on the podcast over the past several months about people who go into training because of a PR issue, like it's a PR stunt, or I want to get famous, or I want to be on a billboard or social media. I feel like you're a person who truly enjoys it and does it because it's, to your point, it's like in your soul, it's a passion for you. I think that really comes through. But you're picking up the volume lately, sister. You're doing a lot more trainings, and so is that evolving? Are you getting more involved in that? Are you thinking about, what's the next step for you with training? Are you wanting to do more companies, more trainings? Like where do you go from here on the training front?
I do see myself doing more and more trainings. I primarily have been with Galderma for years, and it was because of people like you that believed in me in the beginning, the very beginning, when this little girl from Idaho, and there was no trainers from Idaho. I was the only one in the whole state. And it was just people believing in me and seeing my passion. But I look forward to doing many more teaching engagements. I've now, actually been talking with other companies that want me to be able to train for them as well. And I really hope that I can find that balance. I hope that I have the management within my organization to keep it running while I truly do what I love to do. And so I am hopeful for many more teaching engagements in the future.
Well, I remember Molly Ryan, who at the time was your sales rep, comes into my office at Galderma. She's like, I've got this person in Idaho who's doing a tremendous amount of product. She needs to be a trainer. I'm like, Idaho? Who lives in Idaho? She was like, it's Julie Acarregui. And I'm like, you got to spell that for me. And it took me a full year to spell your name correctly, by the way. But you had such big advocates. I mean, Molly being one of them, who obviously is still close with you now. But you had big advocates who were, going to bat for you, talking about how great you are, what you were doing, and in the business, both on the side of like entrepreneur, but also in injecting. And I think that's the key. I look at all these people who want to become trainers and want to get involved in the industry in a bigger way. You've got to find champions, and you certainly had champions who were going to bat for you, saying this person has got to be part of our world. And I think people miss out on that part, that it's the social aspect and the PR aspect is important, but building that network who believes in you and wants to put you on stage, like that's how you get stuff done around here. You've got to have those champions. But you've come full circle with Molly, haven't you? Tell us a little bit about that.
I have. Well, so I remember I was just telling this story on stage last Friday night at a Galderma event, that my rep years ago came to me, and I was doing a talk on Dysport and how Dysport is different. And I said, I remember thinking, you know what, I got this all handled. I don't even need to try this new thing called Dysport. And Molly Ryan kept on top of me and kept on top of me. And she's like, I promise I'll make this worth your while. Just choose a handful of your clients to test this out with. I'll give you the product. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I literally picked a handful of clients, and I asked them, I said, please, for 1 year, I want you to use this product and tell me what you think about it. And lo and behold, fast forward, and literally 99% of my practice now chooses Dysport. But it was her believing in me and just saying, I know this product is great. I know you can educate your clients well. Let's partner. And so years and years of her being a great friend, a great rep. I told her for a long time, someday I'm going to get you to come work for me someday. And when I purchased the third location in Coeur d'Alene, I reached out and said, all right, it's time. And so um, it was time for her as well. And I am so fortunate that she is the chief operations officer of my business now.
It's good to have competent people. You know, there's a big shortage right now of talent. I have lots of owners, much like you, who are expanding, saying, "Tiffany, where do we find the COO, the CFO?" And I'm like, guys, I don't know what to tell you. There aren't a lot of Molly Ryans out there hanging out looking for jobs, and so I think finding great talent in this industry right now is both challenging because our industry is so nuanced, but also because there's just not a lot of people who are saying, "I want to work that hard. I want to be my nose to the grind all day and help you build this business." It's a lot of commitment from all from all who are involved, but you've got a winner with Molly. We love Molly around here, so you
Yeah,
did good.
I did. I did. I'm blessed. I am truly, truly blessed.
Well, as you think about bringing in like another person in your office who's now in a leadership role, how
Hmm.
has the dynamic shifted there? Because I feel like that's also an obstacle where you have to start delegating. That's a bad word around here. I can't do it very well. Relinquishing control of some things and like letting someone else take over. And I'm sure you and Molly have a great relationship, so I'm sure it was easy. But what are the challenges in that dynamic changing for you?
I think that the biggest challenge is we're getting the team members used to an organizational chart, because for so long they all just came to me. And I joke and I say, the first few months that Molly came on, I'm like, is my phone working? I don't feel like any of my employees are contacting me. But um, and now as we still work through that, everybody can't contact her either. We have spa directors in each location. And so the biggest challenge has been getting the entire team to recognize and respect the organizational chart, and that this is the way we need to communicate. Communication is the most important thing for us to continue to just thrive and survive, but there's a certain way to do it. And so that's been our biggest challenge.
You know, Julie, what you just said is a contentious topic for many people, but I got to agree with you 1,000%. A hierarchy, without hierarchy, we live in chaos. Think about our governments, any corporation without hierarchy, the world is in sheer chaos. You can't decentralize an organization and expect to have organization. At AR, we're the same way. Like, Justin and I are like mom and dad. Like, we always, in the beginning had that thing. If mom says no, go ask dad. Well, that's not a thing anymore because that was a thing in the beginning. We can't do that. We have to figure out who reports to whom and for what things, because if we don't, no one ever knows what's going on. It's all just like, again, a circular reference all the time. And so I always say to my people here, we're a real company. We're going to act like a real company. We're not going to be a free for all. And I think it helps people to have roles and have structure and to have reporting structures. I couldn't agree more that I feel like once you get that hierarchy sort of nailed down, it's like the phone tree. When you're a cheerleader back in the high school, the phone tree helps a lot. You see how much you need organization with that darn phone tree when there's the game gets rained out. So I feel like it's just a thing that we forget as we get in business, that we need that so desperately as people to have structure in our lives. So, kudos to you for, again, thinking about the fact that you got to have spa directors and levels and people. And because if not, your phone right now would be ringing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
it, it's been a nice little break that I feel like I don't have to manage and operate every single thing. I'm learning that delegation is fun.
You hear that, guys? Fun. I'll check back with you in about 6 months and see if I'm on the same path you are. But it's hard around here. We just have too many jobs. We can't delegate because we have no one to delegate to around here. But speaking of too many jobs and thinking through things, I look at what you're doing on your end with your whole business model being different. We think about this a lot here. It's like, how do you change the business model? And I think your business model is incredibly unique because you focus significantly on memberships, on long-term value of your patients, on like the long-term plan. I think you've approached the whole thing very different compared to the industry. And I want to really dive into that because I think what you're doing is just, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing. I think it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I have learned that it is a very unique thing that we're doing, but it's working for us, so I'm going to continue to do it. So we have a membership that's unlike the traditional, I think, med spa membership. We call it a membership. It's belonging to something. It's a nominal fee that somebody pays one time, and then every year it's a lesser amount. For membership, they get a particular percentage off, discount off of everything, all products and services, and they get a free service during their birthday month. So membership. But the true thing that makes us unique is what we call our customized programs. And so when we go into any consultation, we want to enter an aesthetic journey with our clients. We want to be their aesthetic advisors and to really hone in on what it is, what do they want to receive? What is the end result they want to receive? Because there's a million ways I can get them there. And when I originally started with the customized programs, I created 16 programs that I felt like could take somebody on a year-long journey and get somebody to an end result that would be a wow experience, that they would see, that their friends would see, that they would appreciate it. But I also created the ability for all of my team members to populate an Excel spreadsheet with a truly customized program, literally taking any service we offer, putting it on an Excel spreadsheet that auto-calculates 3 different payment options. And the reason why I did 3 different payment options is because we wanted to make it budgetable and manageable for any patient. And so we have a few different options. They can pay in full, they get another $100 on their account if they would like that. But we also offer that they can put a down payment and then make 12 monthly payments. And that provides residual income for me as a business owner. I would rather have everybody do that. It is residual income. But the beauty of it is that we see these clients at the minimum 6 to 10 times a year. And that makes a huge difference in not only the client's life, but also in my staff members' life, because they know their income is guaranteed months to come. All they have to do is build the customized program. The client wins and the staff member wins and the business wins.
Well, I think what is the average right now? 2.5 times per year is the average med spa return rate. Maybe it's 2.45, and you're looking at 6 to 10 times a year. They're not going anywhere. They're hitched to you for life. Like that, there's no chance they're leaving your place. What's your retention like for that?
I would say our retention rate is we're in the 80s, at least 80s. We had 450% growth in the first year that I implemented this customized program. And I don't know, Tiff, I literally was by the grace of God. I just sat down with the computer and I was like, okay, I'm going to build this Excel spreadsheet that any of my team members could fill out, and automatically they could tell the client, this is how much you need to pay down and this is your monthly payment. Obviously, we give them options to pay in full as well, but it has worked so well for us. We manage it all within the business. It is getting bigger, and I've had to move somebody into an administrative coordinator role to truly manage that all those payments are coming through. And but it's working for us. We continue to grow literally every single year, month over month, and so we'll continue to do this.
And do almost all your clients sign up for this? I feel like that almost all of them do, right? It's like the thing that everybody does at your spa.
Right. So 95% of every client we have is a member, and so they benefit from the membership program. We make it just a no-brainer. Everybody has to be a member. They save so much. Their birthday gift is well worth the amount we charge them. But then everybody's presented a customized program, and you probably don't come and see us more than 2 to 3 times without having a customized program built for you.
So if you guys are listening to this right now, again, I've known about this for a while, so this is not shocking to me, but it's shocking to hear it every time I hear it. It's just so darn smart, because I think if you look at recurring revenue models, for one thing, recurring revenue wise, you're crushing it because you're getting a monthly recurring revenue that is residual for you, which is genius at the beginning. Second thing is they're coming back so often. I'm sure they're going to be adding on, a random skincare item here or something extra here. I've got a thing coming up next week. Can I go ahead and get an extra facial? I hadn't had a plan. I'm sure that your chance to upsell, I should say educate, guys. I shouldn't say sell. It's a bad word. Upsell or cross-sell in those moments is got to be 10 times more likely because they're coming in 10 times more often. So I feel like you've got to be making more money that way too.
Right. It is an opportunity every single time they come in, because what we've realized is if that client has a payment at the first of the month, when they're in your facility on the 20th of the month, they don't even remember. They don't even remember about the payment. And they're like, oh my gosh, of course I would like that skincare product. Or of course I would like to add a dermaplaning to my hydrofacial today. Or let's upgrade to face, neck, and chest BBL versus just face. And we build the customized programs specifically with the lowest level, because we know that each time they come in, that extra $50 to $150, they don't care. It's okay that day because I'm going to get extra results. And so it's truly part of our plan.
Well, I feel like too for a nurse injector, physician, whoever it is in this process, to watch a patient evolve over time, to be with them on their journey from day one of, oh my gosh, I want Julie fix my face, I feel tired, I feel haggard, whatever I'm saying, and then to see me in a year or 2 years, knowing that this entire journey, you've been really soup to nuts part of all of it, has to be like I would think very fulfilling on an emotional level, not just on a business level, but to really be their, I guess, their tour guide in this crazy world of aesthetics. So do you feel like your employees, like the retention or commitment to your business is better because they're part of this whole process?
Absolutely. I have had very little to no turnover of any of my providers in years and years. They've all stayed with me. I had one nurse practitioner that left a few years ago to go out and start her own business, and she wanted to go to nurse practitioner school. She wasn't one then, and so she left for a while. But that has been it. I truly believe in treating my employees, paying them higher than anybody else can pay them. They all do very well, giving them full benefits. I don't want them to ever have any reason to leave. I pay for their continuing education, and they are true to me, and they know I will be true to them. They can count on me, and it's a wonderful feeling to know that I have truly committed team members. I'm just adding more. I haven't had any leave. Keep adding more. I just hired 2 more new nurse practitioners, and another medical esthetician. So we're growing, and it certainly is a nice feeling to know that they're happy and they stay.
When the schools of thought on that are so diverse, even talking to people on the podcast alone, how they work with their employees, what you just said is what people I think often forget. Like, oh, pay them more than market. No chance. That's crazy. I'm going to pay them, all the market's going to handle. I'm not going to make any money otherwise. But they forget about onboarding cost, turnover costs. The patients who are like, my gosh, where are all the providers? It's like a revolving door around here. The cost of turnover is so much higher than the cost to keep a good employee, in my opinion. Like it makes no sense to me to undercut an employee's paycheck, only to have to pay out 2 or 3 extra salary in recruiting costs, again, onboarding, turnover, PR hit, brand hit. There's so many things that happen that I think what you're doing is saying, I'm going to invest in you because you're going to invest in me, and we're going to be here in this thing together for a long time. So, if you're listening to this, thinking about what you're going to pay your employees, I'm on Camp Julie for this one. Pay them more, make them happy, make them stay. Because if they ever have to think about, can I pay my bills? If that comes in their mind at any point, can I afford to eat, pay my bills, live my life? Then the association to your business is not a good one, right? You're making sure that they're taken care of, period. Money's not the issue, nor benefits. We got that covered. Now we can just enjoy working here together and growing and learning together. So it's a big one, hot button in the industry right now. It's a very big topic in the industry right now, as you guys all know. Well, we're glad that you're paying them well. So as we think about you as, again, a business builder, innovator, Sculptra. I'm going to go to Sculptra because when we think about innovation, Julie, as you know, the camps are split on Sculptra as well. Some love it, some hate it. It's hard to sell to patients. It's a lot to talk about, but you have become like the Sculptra queen. I mean, literally the Sculptra queen. How did you, thinking about a product that's really that challenging, how did you get that into your spa, get people to love it, and like keep producing these massive numbers of Sculptra patients?
So in every consultation, my goal is to, typically most clients are coming in because they're like, everything is falling. I don't like what's going on down around here. And so I educate them all on the aging process. I show them what happens to their fat pads. I show them what happens to their bone as they age. And then I give them 2 options to fix that. And I say, there are 2 options. The only thing that can replace this lost volume is volume. And I can do that in 2 ways. And I talk about the hyaluronic acid-based fillers and how I can give them instant gratification that they're going to have to retreat every year. If they've got a wedding coming up or some big event, of course we're going to do the HA fillers. And then I always leave Sculptra to last. I said, and then your other option is Sculptra. And I go through and I educate them about that I can do this global rejuvenation with Sculptra. And I show them my before and after pictures. And 99% of the time, clients choose Sculptra. And I've developed a package around Sculptra that includes their wrinkle relaxer for the whole year. It includes 1 syringe of filler because I tell them, I need that syringe of filler to perfect the canvas. I can't put Sculptra right under your eyes. I can't put it right around your mouth. But this is my way to perfect the canvas. And we're going to do this during your first year with me. And then the second year, we're going to worry about the texture. We're going to worry about the canvas and the beauty of the texture of your skin. But we've got to add the volume back first. And so I think the key point is educating them on why they look the way they do, giving them 2 options. And the only people that ever choose the HA option will be those clients that have some immediate need to look good. Most of them are like, yes, I want to look natural. I want to age gracefully. And they see through the process of my pictures, my before and after pictures, they're like, yes, I'm willing to wait to look that way. And in my book, literally, I tell them, in my toolbox, when I open up my cupboards and I see all the tools that I have at my disposal, Sculptra is the creme de la creme. And if you want the very best, you're going to choose Sculptra because it's so long-term. You're going to have such long-term results from it. And, now, I'm just doing it all over the body. I mean, I have clients in my Sun Valley office that are doing their elbows. Literally, we've done the entire body. But they love it. They look so great. They're all so healthy and fit, and they just want their skin to be a little bit firmer, a little bit tighter. And Sculptra is the answer for them.
Well, we've been talking about getting it in the balls of our feet. All the Hollywood celebrities do that for their high heels.
Yes.
And I'm like, sign me up for that deal for sure. But the consultation process for Sculptra, because I feel like that's where the wheels fall off for a lot of people, is how long do you think it takes you to go through all that with the patient?
I reserve an hour for my consultations. I truly want time for the client to be able to ask all the questions, but I don't want anything to be rushed. And I want to educate them properly first, because that sets the basis for what we need to do as I talk about options to fix what they want fixed. So I reserve an hour for every consultation.
Well, and that hour turns into a full year commitment and a membership and a plans. I'd say your hour is pretty well spent. There's a good ROI on that hour. So inquiring minds want to know, what's your constitution for the face?
I go back to my greatest instructor, and that was Sheena Bay. And so I do a 1 to 7.
What about the butt?
And I think that's a little bit more 1 to 10 for the butt.
Okay, yes, you heard it here first. 1 to 7 face, 1 to 10 on the butt. I hear that we have new articles coming out with new consensus for Sculptra, so I'm excited to see what they come out with.
I know, I can't wait.
Well, you've been to Sweden. Speaking of products and articles coming out, you've gone to Sweden. You've seen the Galderma factory live. You're doing some product advising. Talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you get involved in that kind of stuff? Because I feel like a lot of people want to be part of the cutting edge pieces of the industry. And I think being a trainer is one thing, and that's important too. But you're like actually in the boardroom saying, I don't like that branding. I like this branding. I don't like that messaging. What's it feel like to kind of be in this advisory capacity for a manufacturer?
First of all, it's truly an honor. I mean, to be part of the Gen Now faculty was like literally one of the biggest honors ever. When I got invited to Sweden, I literally about fell out of my chair. I just was like, what? I just couldn't believe it. I think that the keys to that are, it's truly every opportunity, from beginning with your rep, letting them know how much you want to be a trainer. And then every opportunity that you have when you're at a conference to be able to mingle with other key opinion leaders and to share your thoughts openly and let other people know that you truly know what you're talking about and that you have something to offer the team to help better the product. It was going to so it was for the KISS advisory board, and it was a phenomenal experience, and just spending time with some great colleagues. But I think it starts with truly letting the people know that believe in you that this is what you want, and you need to speak up when you have the opportunity to speak up and show that you know what you're talking about and you have something to offer.
I think that's the key to an ad board. So I've obviously put on a couple of those in my day, and folks come to them and they don't say anything. They sit there and they take it all in because they're, to your point, they're excited about it. It's their first one, or maybe it's their 100th one and they don't care anymore, and they say nothing, or they want to argue, or they want to agree. It's always that whole thing of, I'm going to disapprove all things you're saying. I'm going to agree with all things you're saying. And as a person who's trying to get feedback and collect feedback and learn from experts, it's very, very challenging to be on this side of the table saying, gosh, they said nothing the whole time. And you're being paid to be there. Obviously, we're being paid, to hear your opinion. And then folks come in and they don't do anything with it. Like, this is the golden opportunity to tell us what you want to see, but also to earn the next spot, right? To earn the next ad board that you get on or the next training opportunity that you get on. So I feel like there is a true art to being a great consultant or an advisor for a company. And I feel like you've done a great job with it because you're very open and honest and say, here's what I like, and here's what I don't. And I feel like that's the thing that people often miss in that role. But, what's next for you in that regard? Do you have any more coming up soon?
I do. I'm actually going to be on an ad board at Aesthetic Next for Allergan.
Well, looky there. Yeah, guys, we're gonna go into that in a minute. We'll plug some AN in just a second.
Right. Yeah. So yes, that's coming up. I think there's going to be some stuff at iSpan. So I like to be at all of the industry leading meetings and to be a part of them as much as I can. And I'm looking forward to. I haven't been on an Allergan ad board for a while, and so I'm honored that they invited me.
Oh, I can't wait to hear all about it because it's at our meeting, but I can't go. I'm not a medical professional, so I can't wait to hear all the fun things. But, there are like NDAs involved, confidentiality agreements. I probably can't hear any of it, which is very sad. But speaking of Aesthetic Next, you're obviously in front of big crowds all the time now, which, back in your Army days may not have been the thing that you were doing back in your nursing school days, but now you're in front of big crowds, you're teaching, you're training, you're educating, which is, by the way, guys, not an easy task to be injecting live and moderating your own injections and talking to the audience and trying to help the patient to stay calm and not pass out. You got a lot of stuff going on there. How did you learn those skills? Are you practicing? Are you getting decks? Like, how did you become a great presenter? Because that's also, again, one of those things that you don't think about in the beginning that now is a big part of your life going forward.
I think that being as prepared as you possibly can, that's what calms my nerves. There's never a time that I go on stage that I'm not nervous. There's never a time. But I think that as I ease in within the first 5 minutes, if I am absolutely confident in what I'm talking about, my nerves calm down. They calm down very easily. But it's truly preparing and knowing and anticipating questions. If I'm speaking on a specific thing, I guarantee you I have read every single article, every research article that has been published, because I feel like I try to prep with potential questions I might be asked. And there's still times that I don't know stuff, but I feel that the way that I can go in with as calm as possible is to be as prepared as possible and educate myself.
Yeah, I think that's the golden ticket right there. People come all the time who aren't prepared. They haven't read the deck, or they're like, "What am I talking about today?" And I'm like, "Oh God, I need a, it kills me when they don't have any preparation at all." And I think that's very common. People who do this a lot, you'll see people who do multiple products. They'll talk about one company on the other company's stage. They forget. They'll say Botox at a Galderma event and vice versa. And like, for the person who's paying you to be in the room, to be on stage is like cringeworthy. But I think it really happens. It happens a lot because some folks are at a lot of different companies at the same time, and they're doing multiple different manufacturers. But you've only really done Galderma so far. So when you go to the next company, is it also an injectable company? Tell us the scoop.
Yes.
Oh, Julie. So the preparation has to go up tenfold now. You got to get it together for sure now. But you are prepared. You're type A. You are 100% type A, very prepared all the time, which I'm sure is challenging as a human to be, because I know how that feels. My hair is constantly gray and I'm always tired because I'm trying to prepare for everything.
Oh, I hear you. I like to be prepared. It's the one thing that calms my nerves. But I think the most important thing, whatever speaking engagement, is just to have fun. To have fun and try to be the person in the audience. I want everybody to walk away with a pearl they can take back to their practice. That is my goal with any time I'm on stage, is I want you to take something so valuable that you can use it with a consultation, you can use it with a colleague, but that's my end goal. Make it real, have fun.
When you said you wanted to do your own training academy at some point, what's the plan for that? Because I feel like that's a whole nother business right there, sister. It's going to be a lot of work. So is that 2023, 25, 21? Like, when are you going to do that?
I would probably say 23, probably 23. So the practice location that I purchased in Coeur d'Alene, I not only purchased the business, but I purchased the property. And the property is it used to be a clubhouse for a nice residential area that's been converted into a spa. And it has a nice basement area that we're not using right now. And Coeur d'Alene is such a hot spot, a destination vacation hotspot, that my dream, my goal is to have a destination teaching academy. So bring some of the great, great colleagues that are out there to the teaching academy and host wonderful teaching events. So that's, my wheels are turning about how I can do that. And I have the location. I need to find the right filming, type filming crew and lights, and just make it such a valuable experience for every single attendee and for also my guest presenters.
And you've got a nice group of friends too. When you say guest presenters, you've got some heavy hitters that would come in and support you, no doubt about it. But you mentioned film crew. My film guy over here, he's like, "Oh, we'll do it." He's raising his hand. People underestimate that. Getting estimates for aesthetic necks. Like we have obviously full camera. We've got, I don't know, 10, 15 cinema cameras, lights, a whole thing. But still, it's a fortune. My goodness. And video production means everything, and streaming. And I think as you go into this, again, it's almost like the business owner thing. You didn't know about that when you were becoming an injector. It's like when you start doing training, like knowing about all the production and building all the modules and getting payments in for people to take online classes. And it's like a whole new stratosphere that you're not, that you don't think about. And all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, this is a lot of work. But I think this idea of a bed, like a bed and breakfast sort of, like destination is genius, Julie. I'm coming. I'm going to come to your bed and breakfast and get trained.
Awesome. We would love to have you. We would love to have you.
But you got to come out of your practice, and people have to fly across the country. No matter where you go, you got to fly somewhere, and they fly in and out for a day. It's like, oh, what a waste for a whole, just for one day. But to your point, they can come in and enjoy it. They're in a great destination. They can have multiple days of learning. I feel like that's a compelling idea. So no one steal that from Julie, because she's going to do it, and I know that she'll do it beautifully. I have no doubt about it. Well, what's next for you as a business owner?
Oh my gosh. So I gotta. We are growing at such a fast pace. I feel like we have to slow down a little bit. We're going a little bit fast, but it's what's required right now. And so, looking at those long-term goals of potentially having the teaching academy as well as building a franchisable model, having the proper people in management, there's so many little key pieces, and that's kind of next in my business world. I truly am now yearning to understand how to run my business better. I look at coming to aesthetic next, and I'm like, gosh, do I choose the clinical track or do I choose the business track? And literally, I have pieces of paper printed out of everything that I can go to, and I'm trying to go. I'm like, okay, I'll go there at this time. I'll go there at this time. But I really, at this point, I love what I do clinically, and I always can hone my skills, but I think that I am going to gain more out of the business track, and I'm looking forward to doing all of the business stuff at Aesthetic Next.
I think people undervalue it. We have in our clinical track like 800 people who will come to that, or 750 or something. And business like 150. Like the skills that you don't know how to do are the ones in the business track. People who are on the stage injecting, or who are watching them are many like you. They're great, very experienced injectors who are trainers, right? Who could be doing the lecture that's on stage. But the business track, I think, is such a valuable part of it. You mentioned consultants in the beginning, that you use consultants. And a lot of the people in that track are consultants, but I feel like consultants do it every day. I was at a different level, but they're seeing the bits and pieces of successful practice. It's like, I'm sure that your story gets told all the time because they've seen what happened for you. And they're like, this is how you do this. Like, this person is having great success. Like, you become their next success story. But these consultants, I work with Kaylee Lindholm. We work with Cameron Hemphill, Dory. I know you've worked with Dory for quite a while at Inspiration Management. They're doing amazing things for these spas. And I think people give them like a dirty word look of like, ugh, consultants. But they are game changers. And, we have some of the best in the business at our conference. And I'm thrilled to have them there and hope that you learn so much from that, because I feel like that's the value that we offer. Or that any conference, if you can offer business help to people, that's what they really, really need, is business help. Another Botox injection is not the thing, but learning how to run your finances is a huge benefit for a company.
Right. Yeah, I am a part of a mastermind group where they're all, other business owners that are the injector trying to run the business. And it is so helpful to have those key people to be able to just text in, the middle of the night to say, gosh, how are you doing this? And and I truly value the colleagues that are willing to share their business help. You know, we have an NDA, and we're just a tight knit group, but it's a group of people like me that I know I can rely on. And I would encourage people to build their own mastermind groups.
Yeah, find mentors, find people like Julie who are doing it well, and ask to learn for a day or go shadow them or find out how, how they learned, what books they're reading, what podcasts. We had Sarah Allen on, and she's like, I read these books and I listen to these podcasts, and here's how I'm doing all these things. It's like that was a huge help for me, even to go and find the things that she mentioned that helped her and listen to them myself or read them myself. And so I feel like there's so much to learn from each other. And we're getting past the competition part where it's so catty in our industry. I think we're kind of maturing out of that in some ways. Some ways we are not, but I think the mastermind group being a great testament to that we're trying to get out of that, cutting each other down and hurting each other, and to trying to learn as a group. So I love it. Is that the one that Haley and Dawn have put together that you're part of?
Yeah. So Haley and Dawn, they did a mastermind summit in Nashville this year. And so they already had their own group. And so it was going to that summit that we developed our own group. So it's, Shelby Miller's in it with me, and they're key, but none of us are from the exact same same state. We're not actively competing with each other, and that's the beauty of it as well.
Yeah, I just saw on Instagram that you got some new injections from Shelby this weekend.
God bless that girl's heart. My gosh, we were fortunately teaching together in Salt Lake City last weekend, and I never have the opportunity to partake of my own services ever. And I've never had my tear troughs injected. And I'm like, Shelby, can you please stay after? We were going to go to her facility, and we made it work. It was crazy. They're breaking down the whole room, and we're sitting there injecting.
And she's a tear trough ninja. She's just tear troughs what you are to Sculptra. Yeah. She's actually talking about that at Aesthetic Next. She's so good at tear troughs. So you won the lottery there. For sure.
I did. She's phenomenal. Love that girl.
Well, as we kind of wind down, I have one more question about, you said franchise, and I can't leave this podcast without asking about franchising. Are you looking for equity funding? Is that how you think you're going to do it? Is it some outside money, or are you just going to just go in and figure out how to franchise?
That is a really good question. I've been asked that question with somebody that I'm actively was trying to work with, almost like Mastermind, actively trying to work with them because they have a similar business to mine. And that was their first question is, do you want equity funding? I've never even thought about equity funding, but I'm willing to learn about it. I've always just thought that I would just do it like I've done everything else, that I just go in headstrong and figure out how we get this done. But I'm learning more. I am learning more about maybe this is a better option. So I can't answer that question yet.
Well, when we come to AN, Ben Hernandez from SkyTels, I'm going to give him your number. He'll talk to you. Because it's funny, Julie, I think the people are out, and they're aggressive, trying to give everyone money. We call it dry powder in the industry. Like, they've got dry powder. They want to invest in everything all the time. So I'm shocked that you're not getting your door beaten down for people trying to give you money, because your model is so sustainable and you're profitable and you're doing it so well that you'd be a dream boat for a private equity company. I mean, you'd be the crown on the jewel on the queen's crown for sure. So after this podcast, we'll get some phone calls asking for a meeting with you for equity funding. Sorry about that.
I'll welcome them. I'm open to anything.
Well, as we end here, what's next for you as the person, not the business owner, not the injector, just you as regular Julie?
I would like to see that I make a little bit more free time for myself, that I truly can delegate well. I can step back. I value my free time. It's so rare, but I would really, really like to be able to look at most every weekend and say, put your computer down and just enjoy yourself. I would like to be able to pay attention to my own health a little bit more. And I think I'm almost there. I really do. I have such a great team, and I'm so blessed. It chokes me up to even think about it, that I am hopeful that I can make more time for me.
I think it's coming for you. You put the right things in place. So I'm going to send you all my good vibes. So when you get there, send them back. Send all those back to me, because I'm going to need them too. But for the record, you have been a fantastic guest. It's like talking to an old friend again, which I love to do on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep up with all the things that you're going to do, and your equity funding and your franchising, and to watch your practice continue to grow and succeed. long term. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tiffany. I truly appreciate it.
Well, I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, guys. See you next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of For the Record. This podcast is not intended to provide legal or medical advice. It's for entertainment, education, and information purposes only. For more information on this week's guest or to get started with Aesthetic Record, email us at info@aestheticrecord.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more fresh perspectives on disrupting the status quo and surviving in the aesthetics industry.